Hi guys, welcome to another video here with Xiaomi's Mi Max 3 and then the Honor Note 10. So both of these are very large mobile phones, so this is going to be a quick comparison. So when we take a look at the specs and price of both of these mobile phones, it is very different here. We have what is basically a premium mid-ranger, almost a high-end device, which is the Honor Note 10, with a flagship Kirin 970 processor. On the other hand, on the left with the Mi Max, this is more of a budget to mid-range phone here, and you do notice it with the build quality. So the CPU in that one is the Snapdragon 636. Now that has either 4GB of RAM or 6 is the maximum. And with the Honor Note 10, you can get, well, the standard model, which is 64GB, has 6GB of RAM, or up to an 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Now that storage is UFS 2.1 spec, very fast. And when you look at the benchmark stats of this internal storage, you can see there's a massive difference, as expected for the price of the device being a lot more expensive. So it retails for around about $409, the Honor Note 10 in China, and then you can pick up the 64GB version for around $220 US, I think it is, for the Mi Max 3. And you can see the sequential read speeds on the Honor Note 10 having UFS 2.1 spec storage, super fast, 829 MB reads. And then that, of course, compared to the much slower eMMC 5.1 spec on the Xiaomi, which is 270 MB almost. But both of these are not bottlenecked by their storage, but you do notice the difference that it's super quick on the Honor Note 5. Synthetic benchmarks as well, big difference here. So we've got almost 210,000 on the Honor Note 10 and 120 on the Mi Max 3. So it's like comparing a 1600 Corolla versus a V6 twin-turbo Nissan 300ZX. That difference again is noticeable when it comes to the max wireless speeds. You can see that it's over 100 megabits per second faster on the more expensive Honor Note 10. 4G speeds are about exactly the same really when it comes to speed here. It just depends on the network use, if it's in a lot of demand, of course the current tower I was connected to, but really they are the same there. When it comes to GPS, both again, about the same, so they hover around 3 to 4 meters of accuracy, and all of the satellites both of them see, they will lock onto. So when you take a look at battery life, there is a big difference here as expected, because you've got a more powerful chipset up against a more efficient chipset, which is a Snapdragon 636, and also a larger battery. So the battery capacity on the Mi Max 3 is 5,500 mAh, where it's 5,000 on the Honor Note 10. Now, Honor Note 10 in my battery testing, this is a very demanding test where I just use it continuously, mostly on wireless. We got 9 hours. And then when you take a look at the Mi Max 3, that got 13 hours and a half. So much better battery life on that. And that really depends on what you're doing. If you're not pushing it and doing such demanding tasks, then you can expect up to around 10 hours. But both of these phones have really good battery life. You're looking at around 2 to 3 days at least. 3-day phone, mobiles, these ones. Both of the phones have rear fingerprint readers and they work equally as well, so unlocking very, very quick here. Now in terms of cameras, both have dual cameras on the rear, so the Huawei Honor Note 10, that has 2 cameras, so one 16 megapixels, the other is 24. Now I find that these cameras are actually better than the Xiaomi's. Now both of them will take a very good shot in daylight, but where the Honor Note 10 has a massive advantage is that night shot mode. So it's taken from the P20 Pro, and it's a handheld night shot mode that takes one of the best, in fact probably the best night shots that you will see. Really good. It combines various different photos. Now the Xiaomi can do something very similar with its HTT mode, but they just don't come out as good there. So the win in terms of still photography has to go to the Note 10. In terms of video performance, well, we don't have 4K EIS on the Honor Note 10, so its footage does look shaky. And if you try 4K using open camera, it doesn't fix it. But if you use that, so 4K with electronic image stabilization with the Mi Max 3, you get better video footage, and the microphones do actually sound better. So in terms of video performance, recording on the rear cameras, the win there has to go to the Mi Max 3, with also better focus. It's got the dual pixel face detection focus technology versus just face detection autofocus on the Honor Note 10. So for front-facing cameras, we've both got 13 megapixels, and I have to give the win here to the Honor Note 10. I feel the front-facing camera is just slightly better. On the Xiaomi, it tends to overexpose a little bit, But you get better video options on the Note 10 as well, because the Note 10 goes up to all the way up to 4K video or 1080p with electronic image stabilization once you disable that beautifying option in video, which took me a little while to actually find that one there. Now, the Mi Max 3 does have a slight advantage when it comes to perhaps low light, because it does have a LED flash at the front, but to be honest, it doesn't really improve the quality of the photo that much. It just tends to give you more of an orange look to your skin. Now, when looking at the screens, we've got different technology here. So we've got an AMOLED panel from Samsung on the Honor, and it's much brighter. So this one tops out at almost 700 lux. And then we have an IPS panel on the Xiaomi. So both of these screens are slightly different in size too. So 6.9 on the Xiaomi and 6.95 on the Honor Note 10 there. So really, there's no contest. The AMOLED wins just hands down in everything: brightness, viewing angles, and color reproduction. So in terms of sound quality here, we've got an advantage on the Mi Max 3 because it has a 3.5mm headphone jack. Both of them with voice calls, they do sound very similar to me. I'd rate them as pretty much equal. Loudspeaker, when you're on the loudspeaker with voice calls, I feel that the Honor Note 10 has a slight advantage there. It does have a better loudspeaker. Both of them have dual loudspeakers, so it's top firing and bottom firing on the Note 10. And we have a earpiece front-facing speaker, and then the speaker down the bottom on the Mi Max 3. But I'll give you a sample now of both of them. So this is pretty obvious gaming performance, of course. The flagship chipset, the Kirin 970, is far superior to the Snapdragon 636, as I showed you in synthetic benchmarks. So I just wanted to point this out though. For games like PUBG, you get the high setting and HD on the Max 3, and then on the Honor Note 10 you get HDR and ultra frame rate settings, so much smoother. But both of these play the game well with playable frame rates. On the Max 3 it's smooth, it's good, it's just far superior and a lot better looking and overall smoother, stable frame rate on the Honor Note 10. So we have on the Honor device, we've got EMUI 8.2, their custom skin on Android 8.1. Then we've got MIUI 9.6 on the Xiaomi, their custom UI skin. Now both of these have their quirks. Both of them have a bit of Chinese here and there, you'll see, because I'm not on the global ROM at this one at the moment. If you get an international ROM later on, then you won't see all the Chinese bloatware apps on both of these. But both of these you can uninstall. Most of those applications can be removed, which is good. And I have noticed that the performance overall, as you'd expect, yes, yet again, is faster, of course, on this one. Now, both of these aren't actually perfect. I have seen the occasional little stutter on the Note 10 in use, and I do sometimes see it on the Xiaomi. Now, the Xiaomi, to me, the UI has a little bit more customization. Full screen gestures, of course, something we don't have yet with the Honor device. Hopefully we're going to get that later on, that Huawei will start to use full screen gestures. So for me, I'm going to give the edge here with the UI actually to MIUI and the Xiaomi device. Now when we take a look at the build quality of both of these, far superior on the more expensive premium device. So you've got the glass on the back. Now I'm not a huge fan of completely glass-clad phones with the back, because that's very easy to crack. But it does feel a little bit better and higher quality in hand. The frame around it, the rounded edges. Whereas on the Xiaomi, it's got an alloy unibody, and it's fine. It feels good, the quality of it, and it's not going to crack like the glass, but it just doesn't have that more premium feel like the Honor Note 10 does. So overall, you guessed it. I know you guessed it from the start. The Honor 10 is the clear winner here. You get it for the better screen, the better speakers, and the better build, the better cameras, especially in low light. It's far superior there when it comes to the camera performance. But again, the Mi Max 3 does have its advantages. 3.5mm headphone jack, better battery life, and it's a lot cheaper, of course. It's about half the price of the Honor Note 10 there. So hopefully this video made things clear if it wasn't already. If you've got the cash, go for the more expensive Honor Note 10 device there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new to my videos in the channel, and I do hope to catch you back in the next one. Bye for now.